It is One Soccer today as we get you set for a massive weekend in Canadian footy. It's Adam Jenkins, Oliver Platt, Gareth Wheeler, and joined this morning, or this evening by the time this airs, our friend Christian Jack for a segment that I will be calling, KJ, Frisky Business, as you are down in Frisco getting set for tomorrow's match. You have been a very busy man speaking with Alphonso Davies, Tejan Buchanan, Mauro Biello, attending training, and everything for the lead up to tomorrow's game, which gets underway on One Soccer, our coverage at 2:30 p.m. Central Time. Let's just start with the overall sense, KJ, with your time, with your boots on the ground, maybe some cowboy boots that you may or may not have purchased. I'm not going to speculate, but with those boots on the ground, KJ, what have you made from your time in Frisco?
Yeah, no cowboy boots yet. Maybe get a hat. Last time I put one of those on, it didn't go well for me though. So I'll leave that aside. Look, it's been fun. I think that's a good word for it right now. I think there's a lot of relaxation in the camp. You don't get these opportunities a lot, right? There's first of all an opportunity for a second chance at qualifying for a major tournament. They've got that opportunity. I think I've observed being around them for the last 48 hours that I think they're really enjoying a longer runway, right? They were able to get out of their European window. They were able to get here by Sunday or early Monday. They've had 3 really, really intense training sessions. And I think that's a real luxury to have in this moment, that they get to play on a Saturday. They don't get to play on a Friday or a Thursday like some windows have happened. So they've got a longer runway here. We all wish that they were in the Thursday Nations League game, right? We all wish that they were playing in that finals, here in Texas in a different stadium, but they do have a longer one as well, so a longer window. So, look, it's been relaxed. I think that there's a real sense of a fresh start. It certainly feels like, again, another fresh start, even though there's a lot of questions to come with, who the players will be going forward, who the coaching staff will be. But it definitely feels like a different, reinvigorated group, as Mauro Biello has suggested and asked for, with that reigniting the passion and that cultural reset.
And I come right back to you, KJ, and I'd love to get the guys to weigh in too, because we've seen so many sound bites come out. I think everyone was excited for your sit down with Alphonso Davies, which is available on the One Soccer YouTube channel. But from that chat, KJ, from your other conversations with the players and staff, what are some of the things that have stood out to you?
Yeah, I mean, I think now is the time for younger players to step up and be leaders, right? And I think the fact that, first of all, what needs to happen first is, do they want it? It's one thing to set out that platform to suggest that we need them to do it. It's another thing to say, do you want it? I think Alphonso talking in a media scrum, Alphonso doing sit-down interviews, I think is a big moment for him, as I've told him myself, and I'll say it here. His words carry great value in Canadian soccer world, in the international world as well. And so the fact that he's talking more, I think, is great. As he said to me, he wants to be the leader of this team going forward. Right now, we'll get into the captaincy, but I think that I spoke to Kamal Miller about this as well. He had a huge smile on his face. There's an enthusiasm from this group that they want to be able to lead this group. And I think about the players in that 35 to 45 cap region, right? Kamal Miller is one of those. Tejan Buchanan is one of those. Alistair Johnston is one of those. We know that group there is able to be part of this leadership group going forward, where perhaps in the past they didn't quite have a voice. So I think for me, that's a really important part of this team going forward, Gareth and others, that, look, they definitely want to do it. And it doesn't mean that everybody has to. And some people don't feel comfortable being there. But even Jonathan David is another one who's finding his voice, and they're finding leaders.
I just feel like they're ready. Like the moves to leave out some of the more experienced players. Every single player in this squad is under the age of 30. But if you look at it, Canada's best 15, 16, 17, maybe 18, keep on going. All of their best players are under 30. This was inevitable. You just couldn't resist making those changes a little bit longer. Whether they're ready for it or not, that's irrelevant at this point. It requires someone or multiple people or the entire group to step up. And by the sounds of it, it's a much more loose camp. Perhaps some of the older voices, some of the distractions that came along with it have been kind of pushed to the side. And I don't know, I feel like anyone in their workplace, I don't care what you do for a living, when you are empowered, oftentimes just the weight of the world comes off your shoulders and you really relish living in that moment as well. We'll see how it plays out in the field, because this very young group still has a lot of experience and still have had the highest of highs and some really low moments recently. For me, it's just about how they bounce back from the disappointment last window. Are they able to come together? Are they able to put that behind them and really take it to a team that they should be beating here in this game? We all understand the stakes, but as long as football is first here and they do what they do best, which is what they do on the field, I think they'll be in a really good place heading into this game.
KJ, I want to ask you about the captaincy in more depth, because it's a difficult one. You have, on the one hand, someone like Stefan Eustaquio, who I think everyone here and every Canadian fan would think is qualified for the job, and many people would choose him for the job. And then on the other hand, you have Alphonso Davies, who's telling you, I'm ready to lead this team, and whatever happens, and it has always been the case, Alphonso Davies is going to be the face of this team for as long as he's wearing a Canada jersey. Just from having that conversation from Alphonso and your impressions in this camp, where do you kind of stand on that? And how complicated is that going to be, do you think, in the longer term when it comes to choosing the permanent captain here?
Yeah, great question. Great points. I think right now it's a strange world where the world in Canadian soccer has to point towards the journey of where we're going in 2026, right? Everything's got to work towards 2026. But for one game right now here in the heart of Texas, it's all about 90 minutes. And there's no doubt about it for me that Stefan Eustaquio is the right man to lead this team right now. He is the best man right now to lead this team. His actions speak that he's a leader, and that's what's important. It's those can speak about becoming a leader, can show us going forward. But Eustaquio has been building for this moment now, for me, ever since he walked on that pitch in Orlando and got his opportunity. He's like Alphonso Davies, is a guaranteed bona fide starter, one of the first names on the team sheet, but he just leads on and off the field. And he's got the respect of his teammates. I'm not saying that Alphonso Davies doesn't. That will come. But Alphonso Davies is younger, and Alphonso Davies can offer things that Stefan Eustaquio cannot. But right now, Eustaquio, for me, is the best captain for this team going forward. That may change. There may be a completely new regime. There may be a new coach for Copa America. We don't know what's going to happen for 2026. But right now, this is a man that will do anything to empower his teammates, give up seats on planes, talk to them and have one-on-one conversations. He's compassionate. He's a leader. He cares deeply about the team. And I know that he's going to use Alphonso Davies and other younger players to be part of that as one man who wears that armband. But that armband cannot simply be a badge of honor. I want that captaincy for ego. You've got to want that captaincy for the team. And I know Eustaquio definitely does.
It was refreshing hearing what Alphonso had to say, though, because Canada will go as far as Alphonso Davies, as he will take them to a certain degree. I think there's a lot of pressure on his shoulders, just even from outsiders. There's wonderful players like Eustaquio, David on this team, but really Davies, especially if he goes on to make a move to Real Madrid, like he's in a different stratosphere where he is right now. So building into 2026, it's not easy, KJ, even if you change managers, to take the captain's armband off the arm of one player and give it to another. And certainly there was an opportunity with Davies being vocal that he would have wanted to be in consideration for that job. So it's not an easy one, especially for an interim manager to kind of navigate. That's why a lot of this kind of feels temporary. I don't know if that's harsh to say until we get some more firm answers about where this group is going.
Well, a lot of those answers we're going to get will come tomorrow, and that is the fact Canada's either going to be playing Argentina in just a few months' time, or they're not, and there are going to be much larger questions, not just around this program, but everywhere. And I think, you look so far as the odds, TonyBet, our friends over there, have it at minus 1250 for Canada to go on in advance, and they have to do it, KJ. The talent is there, the quality is there. Most Canadian soccer supporters, and I would say the majority, might know two names because they play in the Canadian Premier League now. On paper, we understand what's there, but there's the game within the game. There's actually performing. There's actually executing. So when you contextualize all of that, what are your expectations for tomorrow? Do you think even Mauro Biello might continue to not shake things up per se, but take some chances with his 11?
Well, I think first of all, expectations should be that they will get it done. You know, there, as you mentioned, there, and it doesn't matter whether you go through the team, doesn't matter the betting odds, it doesn't matter what it is. Undoubtedly, they're overwhelming favorites. But those of us in the game know that this is a difficult team that they're playing. They did cause a lot of problems to the United States. I know that ultimately they got knocked out, but that game in the against the US that they lost 3-0, they were very good in that game and conceded 3 goals in the last 10 minutes. So we know that they're competitive, and I think in international football, Canada has learned the harsh lesson that you cannot take anybody for granted. I'll say this: they need to start well, and we've heard that for a while now. And I think they are, for me, a momentum team, a confident team. And I know, forget what happened in Jamaica, and that was a different thing with the Jamaican second half. But you have to go back, I think, 23 games in over 2 years to the last time Canada won a game and didn't score a goal in the first half. So for me, you score a goal in the first half and you get the confidence of this team going forward, particularly with the form of Jonathan David, then they should be in significant advantage early to be able to move forward. The longer the game goes on, the more belief that Trinidad show. The second part of your question about surprises, I think when you look at the team, particularly with Sam Adekubi and Richie Larea not here and the lack of fullbacks, I think we can expect them to probably play a back three. That would be my guess if I was managing, with Tejon Buchanan and Alphonso Davies. I think you guys have talked about that already this week. Eustáquio and Kone in midfield. You know, we know David and Laren. We expect Crepeau to play in goal. All expectations. There's just a few question marks about, you know, Cornelius or Miller, for example, or who plays in the center of defense. So I don't imagine too many surprises. There is some depth, though. You know, there's an excitement about other players here. When I think about what Liam Miller's doing at Preston, obviously one of my, you know, former places I've worked and lived, and I know people there and they love him there. You know, Jason Russell-Rowe scoring goals in MLS. Xuan Yes playing really well. Waterman's playing really well. There's players there who are ready, if needed, to step up and come onto the pitch and show and get those opportunities. So there's the genuine excitement around this. Just got to get the job done, guys.
Christian Jack, a very busy man and a successful debut to frisky business, my friend. Thank you so much for joining us.
Next
Good
time
luck
with the cowboy
everything. We will be chatting with you tomorrow. It is a 1:30 p.m. Mountain Time, 4:30 p.m. Atlantic start on One Soccer, and we cannot wait. We thank KJ, and we move on next to our Visa Women's Football Report. We are switching gears to our Visa Women's Football Report, and this segment, Oliver Platt, lately has been filled with plenty of positive news, from Hall of Fame appointments, NWSL returns and debuts, positive stories. But today, unfortunately, a little bit of a different note, as we know that Kansas City current forward Nichelle Prince will not be available this weekend. That calf is still giving her some issues. And Ollie, as we get closer to She Believes Cup, and of course the big one this summer being Paris, what's your level of concern with Nichelle Prince's fitness and form as we get closer to those big competitions?
Firstly, I think it's a while since I've been on this show where there's only been 3 of us, and it feels very empty. There's a lot of yellow space on the screen.
Why do we love more work for you to do, Oliver?
Yeah, I know. I have to actually talk for half of the show instead of just listening to your thoughts. I'm concerned about Nichelle Prince to a certain extent. I do have some concern about Nichelle Prince because, you know, hopefully this injury is just short term. Bev Priestman said that she's kind of doubtful, questionable right now for the She Believes Cup next month. You wouldn't have thought that the Olympic Games is under threat right now, unless there's something more serious discovered. But it's just the level of recurrence of these injuries that is concerning to me, right? Like, this is a player who obviously has had a long-term layoff in her not too distant past. Sometimes there's a bit of a hangover from those types of injuries where you do have these kind of persistent muscle issues that trouble you for some time. And the reason that is a concern to me is that I don't think Canada has another striker like Nichelle Prince, and I don't think they're as good a team when she's not in the starting lineup. I think she's the striker who can kind of do a bit of everything. She can hold the ball up and link. She can do the defensive stuff. She can run in behind and has the pace and finishing ability to provide that kind of threat. I think all of the other options for Canada, at least from what we've seen right now, they can do 1 or 2 of those things, but not necessarily all 3 in the way that she can. So there's time, there's games to potentially look at some other solutions and, you know, give Jordan Heitema more of a run, Evelyn Vienne, Deanne Rose, players like that, and try and have them grow into alternatives. But right now, I don't think Beth Priestman in Canada have another striker who gives them what Nichelle Prince gives them. And I think she'd be a big loss if there were any injury issues going into the Olympics.
Well, she is a player for whom we wish a speedy recovery, a story we will continue to monitor. A huge slate, week 2 in the NWSL coming up this weekend. We'll have more on Monday on our Visa Women's Football Report.